If you're a newer Genshin Impact player, there's a few important things to know that the game doesn't tell you. In a previous video, I listed 9 such things, but thanks to the comments, I realized there's still plenty more to say, enough to warrant a follow-up video. So if you're a beginner looking for tips, that video would also be good to watch before this one. Or after, it's not like there's a storyline. Number 1. The Starglitter shop. In the last video, I told everyone to buy certain 4-star characters from the Starglitter shop as the highest priority. To be clear, those were my recommendations based on meta, so it's fine to disagree. But moreover, multiple people suggested that even buying characters at all is a waste, and that you should only ever buy intertwined fates. The argument is that over time, you can build up those character constellations through wishing, so spending the equivalent of 7 wishes to get them now, when you might eventually have more extra copies of them than you can even use, is a waste of 7 wishes when you could just be patient. I would agree if they are characters you don't intend on playing anytime soon. Bennett, Zhangling, Beidou, Jingqiu all need a lot of gear to be great characters, so you might not even want to play them until you get to Adventure rank 45 and can start getting good artifacts for them. Fischl just needs to be phase 4 to be good, so that can happen sooner. Either way, if it's going to be months before you'll want to use them in a challenge, it's possible they'll show up on an event wish in that time and you can get them there. Maybe. Second, not all of the characters I mentioned are that dependent on their constellations, so you might opt to try your luck with the wishes anyway, rather than spending the 34 Starglitter. Bennett, Fischl, and Jingqiu don't need constellations in order to be good, even though they do get a lot better with them. And the only reason to get Bennett's constellations in the first place is for the entirely new playstyles that are opened up by his C6, which some people don't even like. Zhangling, on the other hand, really wants her C4 before she becomes a top tier character. Same with Beidou's C2, but if I'm being honest, Beidou is by far the weakest of the 5, so it's reasonable not to buy her from the shop at all.
Then she can be all mine.
That said, I still go for the characters. At this point, I have gotten double-digit extra copies of some of them, and I still don't regret a single Starglitter purchase, because it let me have more fun sooner. Another thing to keep in mind is that no matter how long you play or how many times they appear on an event wish, there is never any guarantee that you will be able to get a 4-star from wishing. First of all, as I went over in the last video, you should only pull on event wishes when you want the 5-star character, so even if these 4-stars do appear as a rate up on an event wish, if it's with a 5-star you don't want, it's not the best idea to even attempt to pull for them. And that's partially because, second of all, there's no guarantee for specific 4-stars. No matter how unlikely you think it is, it happens all the time where someone sinks 100, 200, even 300 wishes into an event wish and doesn't see the specific 4-star they want even a single time. You don't want that to be you. In my opinion, a guarantee is always better than gambling, so spending 7 wishes to buy a character that you might eventually have gotten anyway through chance is worth it. And don't forget about Amber, Lisa, and Kea, who are never rate up, so if you want their constellations, it pretty much has to be here. Ultimately, it is up to you. I think I've given you all the options, so you can decide which route you'd rather take. There is no wrong answer, but one thing we can all agree on is that everything in the Starglitter shop, other than intertwined fates and characters, is a waste of Starglitter. Number 2. Artifact domains. In the last video, I went with the oft-repeated piece of advice to never spend resin in artifact domains until you are Adventure rank 45, because you aren't guaranteed a 5-star artifact until then. But that's actually not the best advice. The truth is, it's perfectly fine to farm some artifact domains before then to pick up some of the really good artifact sets. You just need to keep in mind that you are not trying to optimize your artifacts at this point. You are only just trying to get something usable. Even at AR 45, artifact farming is a black hole of resin when you're trying to get good stats on all your artifacts. You don't want to start that grind until you're ready for the Spiral Abyss. But before that, farming a few entry-level artifacts just so your characters feel a little better to play is perfectly fine. And I also want to use this opportunity to mention that some 4-star artifacts are actually good. All of this hype around 5-star artifacts might cause you to think otherwise, but there are 2 artifact sets, Instructor and Exile, that are so good that endgame support characters might still use them since you can't get 5-star copies of them. And of course, as a beginner, 4-star artifacts in general are good in the first place, because you gotta start somewhere. The best artifacts you have are the best artifacts you have. It doesn't matter if they're worse than some guy who's been playing for 4 years. Number 3. Condensed Resin. One thing that I skipped over in the first video is Condensed Resin. I figured you just unlock it when you unlock it, and if you're playing every day then you wouldn't use it anyway. But most people would probably still wish they knew that there's a way to store more than 200 resin at a time. At AR 25, you start to unlock reputation NPCs as you progress the Archon quests. They are one of the many side progression activities you can unlock throughout the game that give you unique rewards. Specifically, the one in Liyue will unlock Condensed Resin when you get your reputation to level 3. Condensed Resin will allow you to convert 40 resin into an item called Condensed Resin, which you can use later to get 40 resin worth of rewards. You can hold 5 Condensed Resin at a time, which means you can store up to 200 extra resin. Just keep in mind, you can only spend it on activities that normally normally only cost 20 resin, and you'll get double the rewards from them, so you're not wasting any resin by doing this. But that does mean no bosses if all you have is condensed resin. This will be amazing for people who don't have as much time to play the game each day. If you don't have time to log in and spend all your resin on activities, then as long as you aren't already holding too much condensed resin, you can go to the crafting bench, condense all your resin, and you're good to go for that day. To top it off, as you'll learn at AR24, you can get credit for daily commissions by just playing the game or spending resin using the Adventure Encounters system. So if you've got enough encounter points saved, then logging in and condensing at least 120 resin will also complete all of your dailies. And bam, you just completed pretty much all of your daily login activities in 5 seconds. Number 4, Trounce domains. I also forgot to mention weekly bosses known as Trounce domains. These are not only another activity to spend your resin on, but they are the source of the rare billets that I mentioned in the crafting section of the last video. And by crafting I meant forging, but you know what I mean. The first 3 Trounce domains per week cost 30 resin, and after that they cost 60. And at this time you can only collect rewards from each weekly boss once per week, hence why we call them weekly bosses. That may change in the future since MiHoYo's other recent games don't have that restriction, but for now it is what it is. In addition to billets, you can also get high-level talent materials from each boss, as well as more artifacts and gems. Because of how rare billets are, and because the drop rate is the same no matter what level you are, you should start trying to farm Trounce domains as soon as you're able to. You unlock Trounce domains when you do Archon Quest finales, or specific other story quests. That said, when you reach AR40, you can do all Trounce domains without unlocking them that way, but do keep in mind that pretty much every single one of them is a story spoiler. That's why I've only been showing you this one, because it's probably the least spoilery. Number 5, Capturing Radiance. I didn't think this was worth mentioning in the first video because it's overly complicated and its existence isn't going to have any effect on your decision making, but actually there is one instance where you would really want to know how it works. Basically, Capturing Radiance is an extra mechanic to help prevent you from losing too many 50-50s. After you lose a 50-50, the game starts adding an extra check on each subsequent 50-50 that gives you slightly higher odds to win. Normally this chance is so small that it rarely matters, and it can go away when you do win, so that's why I didn't bother mentioning it. But if you manage to lose 3 50-50s in a row, then Capturing Radiance is guaranteed to trigger on the next one, which effectively means you are now on a double guarantee. For example, you pull for this character but lose and get a standard 5-star instead. Your next 5-star is guaranteed, so it doesn't affect Capturing Radiance. Then it happens again, and then you lose again, and that's your third 50-50 loss in a row. So now your next limited 5-star will be guaranteed as normal, but then because you've maxed out your Capturing Radiance, you cannot lose your next 50-50, so your next 5-star after that will also be limited. According to the Wish details, these losses have to be consecutive, but according to data collected from players, it's a bit more complicated than that. Here's a Reddit post going into detail. I'll try to summarize the theory in case you don't want to read the thread. Basically, your account has a Capturing Radiance counter that goes up and down when you win or lose 50-50s respectively. It goes from 0 to 3, and it starts at 1 for everyone with the release of 5.0. When you lose a 50-50, the number goes up. When you win a 50-50, the number goes down. At 0, Capturing Radiance has a 0% chance to trigger. At 3, it has a 100% chance to trigger, and at 1 or 2, it has some other chance to trigger that we don't really know. If you trigger Capturing Radiance, the counter is reset to 1, rather than decreasing by 1. This means that realistically, 2 losses in a row is all you'll need to guarantee Capturing Radiance on the next one, not 3. Unless you win multiple 50-50s in a row. Then you could get 3 losses in a row. Just as a final note, people like to call it a 55-45 because the game tells you that the consolidated probability of winning is 55%, but that's not actually what that means. The 55% probability means that if you pull an infinite number of times, you will have won 55% of your 50-50s when factoring in Capturing Radiance. But the odds of winning each individual 50-50 is not 55% because it changes based on how many you have lost. Number 6, co-op. If you join someone else's world for co-op, you can actually bypass many of the material collection restrictions, including the ones I mentioned in the previous video. I said that there are some materials you can't collect until you pass Archon Quest Chapter 2 Act 1, but didn't mention that if you have a friend who has completed that quest, and they are the same world level as you or lower, then you can join their world and get the materials from there. Well, it doesn't work for this area, but I don't have the accounts to show this in Inazuma, so we'll just have to trust all the commenters who said it works there. Anyway, you will be stealing the flowers from them, so they'll have to be okay with that, but you can fight the bosses together, and one or both of you can collect the rewards if you want. Not just that, but if you ever run out of materials farming in your own world, you can always join someone else's world and keep going, without having to wait for them to respawn in your own world. Just make sure you ask their permission first. This is about the only thing co-op is good for in Genshin Impact, in my opinion. Number 7. The Serenitea Pot. I very briefly mentioned the teapot in the previous video, but it could stand to have a little more emphasis. When you first unlock this thing, you might think it's just a place for you to decorate as a home, and if you're not into that, you might just ignore it. But it provides you with quite a lot of rewards that you're going to want, and the more you engage with it, the more rewards you'll get. First, you'll want to level up your teapot by creating new furnishings. Then, you'll eventually want to get your adeptal energy up to 20,000 in at least one realm in order to max out your reward generation, which you can do by just spamming as many furnishings all over the floor as possible if you don't feel like actually decorating. Then you'll be able to start buying the transient resin every week, as well as some of these other materials that you might need. Outside of the rewards in the Realm Depot, you can actually earn extra Primogems from decorations. Every character in the game has 2 gift sets that they prefer. If you place down one of these gift sets, then put the character somewhere near them, you will get a unique interaction with that character, followed by a one-time reward of 20 Primogems. So, if you're looking for extra Primogems, then you can go through all your characters to get the 40 Primogem per character from these gift sets. As one last addition, if you were wondering where I got the constellation tracker I showed early in the video, that is a website called Paimon.moe. Your in-game wish history only shows you up to a year ago, but if you save it to a website like Paimon.moe, among a few others, they will remember it indefinitely. Keep in mind that this does involve giving them access to some of your account data. Not your account itself, just the data, like your wish history. What all that entails, I don't even know, but some people recommend against using these sites for that reason. Personally, I don't think it's a big deal, but I wanted to mention that in case anyone else was worried and would prefer to just not. But a site like this can help you figure out your capturing Radiance counter that I talked about earlier. So, once again, this video expanded upon my main beginner's guide video, so if you haven't watched that one yet, you might find it very useful. Hopefully, between the two, I've covered all the pitfalls you need to know about to make the best decisions with your Genshin journey, and not end up with any regrets. And on a personal note, I'm very thankful for all the support you guys have been showing to my Genshin videos lately, and I've got a few more that I'm working on, including another big guide video, a lore video, a couple non-meta tier list videos, and more. So if you've been enjoying my content, I'd love it if you subscribe and keep a lookout for what's to come. See you there!